Team Legal wives and the presidential personality here that we are actually going to talk about today happen to be Mami Akosua Serwaa. This woman, she has actually landed in Ghana, and of course, the Kotoka International Airport was actually seized by the Team Legal wives, ladies and gentlemen. These developments is actually going to amaze you, definitely. So let us actually share everything, ladies and gentlemen. Now, officially, Mami Akosua Serwaa happened to be the preliminary wife to the late, Daddy Lumba, the music icon who just, passed away in 2025, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is the wife. The wife just arrived in Ghana, and of course, before her arrival here in Ghana, guess what? A lot of preparation actually happened at the airport before she even landed in Kotoka International Airport, ladies and gentlemen. Let's discuss everything step by step. Who actually knows, the Mami Ode? So this woman, when it's actually come to Adowa, and that Ashanti was, dance was performance, traditional was dance performance. She was actually there to prepare the way using Adowa was not dance and other was not staffs officially to, welcome Mami Akosua was not Serwaa. And do you actually believe that some people also move from the diaspora to meet this woman today in the international airport, ladies and gentlemen? And of course, Mami Ode wasn't the only woman who actually went there to prepare. Actually, she went there together with her team and other people. You could actually, see the fact that, the Team Legal was wives and, their friends or supporters, they actually prepared everything intact before Mommy actually arrived in the Ghana International, Kotoka International Airport. And all this preparation was actually meant to glorify Mommy for coming home successfully, because it is not everyone who can actually, patch himself or herself into the diaspora and come home, at a moment like this, ladies and gentlemen. You know what is actually unfolding about, Mami Akosua Serwaa and, the late Daddy Lumba, ladies and gentlemen. So when Mommy actually arrived at the airport, guess what? The place was actually seized, because the number of people who actually went there to welcome, the woman, even was more than those who attended Daddy Lumba's funeral. So Mommy decided to actually come home with some relatives as well. So basically, the late was icon, okay, Daddy Lumba. His sister also came, and this is the sister, a very beautiful, vibrant, and young lady. Okay, so she also came back from the diaspora. For instance, your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you have actually left the person behind, and travel to the diaspora. You come back and you hear that the person is actually was not gone, or maybe you heard it over there before coming home. So some ladies, some relatives to Daddy Lumba, when they actually got home from the diaspora, they actually demanded for the corpse of Daddy Lumba to make sure that they bury the man, because they believe the fact that those who bury the person, maybe they didn't actually do it the right way or traditionally. So they actually demanded for the corpse or the body of Daddy Lumba to make sure that they get it. And of course, and I believe that these people were actually was no joking, because they were actually making some mockery. In Ghana, in my next life, I will want to be a Ghanaian once again, because in this country, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how complicated the situation is going to be, you will still find Ghanaians to navigate, to make sure that at least they also entertain themselves a bit. So ladies and gentlemen, these guys, they were actually was no joking, and they were actually demanding for the corpse, the dead body of Daddy Lumba to actually and I think that it was actually was beautiful. It also was part of the welcome culture or whatever. But what I actually want you to understand is that, look, Daddy Lumba was actually the best in the music industry here in Ghana, and of course West Africa, and Africa was at large. This man has actually significantly contributed in terms of music into Ghana, and has actually put, though most of his songs were actually sung in Chi, but trust me, he actually happened to be one of the best that a lot of people have actually developed loves. And musical loves, and musical inspiration about. Yes, Daddy Lumba has actually done a lot. Allegedly, some people say that this man was actually eliminated. He was actually taken away by some people, some parties, or whatever. That allegation is actually there. We are actually here to dive deeper into, and I hope that maybe you might have actually come across some multiple videos on the internet who speaking about. I don't actually want to go there for now, but honestly, the moment I actually heard that, the day that I heard that Daddy Lumba actually passed on, I was a bit sad. It was actually a pathetic experience for me, because my father, honestly, I don't actually happen to be a fan of music, and due to that, Daddy Lumba, though I do listen to his music, you understand me, I enjoy his music, but I'm not actually a big fan of him. But my dad was actually a significant fan of Daddy Lumba. Maybe both of them, Daddy Lumba wasn't actually aware of my father being one of his was the biggest fan, but indeed my father was actually one of his biggest and significant fan of him. I remember those days when somewhere 1987, okay, in the year 1997, one day my father actually picked a sack, a long sack like this, bro, like this. And that particular sack was actually full of Daddy Lumba's cassettes. That those days we have the cassette, and this is how we used to turn the cassettes. I do remember my father actually used to have a big tape, inside his room. Unlike today that we have a lot of sound system that we can even take it away, portable ones. But those days our fathers, they actually had tapes, and the moment they actually let's say that if they actually set in or insert a cassette, and when it runs and ended, then they have to make sure that they take it off. They remove it from the tape and make sure that you have to use maybe a pen like this, or you use, let's say, that a stick, just to turn it. You have to turn it. And in those days, I used to do that for my dad. Whenever the cassette actually ends, my father would make sure that he would call me. That was actually my usual assignment that I was actually doing for my father. I would just turn it this way. When I finish, I'll pack those ones that I have actually used the pen or a stick to actually turn, and my father will actually just come and then he just replace them. Ladies and gentlemen, now, of course, my father actually, he always used to talk about Daddy Lumba, how he loved this guy. And of course, every single song or musical composition from Daddy Lumba, my father will also be amongst the first circle, or the first fan base who actually buy his cassettes. Yes, this is what my father was actually doing. So my father was actually a big fan to Daddy Lumba, Nana Champon, Amachi Dede, even this guy Is it a champion or for real, a real champion? You see, so in fact, that actually gave me this was memories. And unfortunately, my father actually died in 2022, and Daddy Lumba also passed on after my father actually was passed on, ladies and gentlemen. So the moment actually anything, I mean anywhere and at any time that I actually hear something about Daddy Lumba, I do recall more to my father, because my father was one of his biggest fan. So mommy has actually came home successfully, and we thank God that mommy has actually came home. And according to tradition, the Ashanti tradition, you can see the kind of formal clothes that she is actually putting on, which signify the fact that this woman is actually the widow to the late music icon, okay, Daddy Lumba. So may his so rest in peace. And mommy, thank you so much for coming home. Okay, thank you. God bless you.